Wow, what you're about to watch is a speech that every single man and boy in the Western world needs to watch. If that's you, remember who you are. So Nick Freitas is a former Green Beret, Special Forces veteran, served 2 tours in Iraq, and what he has to say about the way in which masculinity has been systematically targeted and destroyed for one particular goal in mind will give you chills. Send this to every boy and man you know who you want to snap out of this delusion. Let's go.
When I got asked to speak about the idea of what has happened to our young men, or more specifically, what have we done to our boys, it's especially relevant to me because not only do I care about this from an intellectual position, from a social position, but I care about it as a father of a son. And what we've done to our boys is rather simple. Over the last couple of decades, from the left, from woke progressivism, we've essentially seen our young boys be told as early as elementary school that they're essentially the source of the world's problems.
So
that
true.
If you look at everything from crime statistics to wars to bigotry to racism, you name it, it's all essentially falls at the feet of men. And this has led to the idea that masculinity itself must be toxic. Now, I find it interesting that the same people that believe that masculinity, when represented by men, is toxic, all of a sudden find it incredibly empowering when it's represented by women.
Wow, that's such a good point.
But nevertheless, what we've told our young men is that the way that we fix these problems is that we feminize them, which means essentially we emasculate them. And we look at the results of that, and I don't think we should be surprised that nobody seems to be happy with what's happened.
Yeah.
In fact, I find it somewhat amusing and a little bit tragic that you can't turn on TikTok without finding the liberal women in New York City complaining about the complete lack of masculine men. Or when she does find a masculine man, she's wondering why they're always conservative. And it might have something to do with the fact that her particular side of the aisle has decided to treat men, any man, that would act with what we might call masculine traits as being toxic or evil or somehow responsible for the world's ills.
So hypocritical, aren't they?
If we actually wanted to have an honest conversation about the negative or positive manifestations of masculine and feminine traits, we could have done that. That would have been a worthwhile conversation. But let's be honest. When we look at woke progressivism, we understand something right off the bat. This wasn't about having an honest conversation about negative or positive manifestations of masculinity. This was about undermining and demoralizing the West.
Mm-hmm. Always has been.
When I read Karl Marx, he's very obvious that he has a disdain for the traditional family. And the reason why I think this is directly related to the overwhelming object or to the push to demoralize young men is because I know as a man, the 2 titles that mean the most to me outside of my faith is being a husband and being a father.
Yep. Yes, bro.
And yet Marx did a pretty good job of convincing everyone that the traditional marriage was oppressive toward women. And so the overall objective was to replace the husband and father with the state.
Mm-hmm. Or the boss.
And if we look over the last 60 years, at least in the United States, and I would wager the same is true over here, the state has done a pretty good job of subverting the role of the father and role of the husband at the same time that they've done a horrible job of actually filling that position.
Yeah, it's like having a husband is so oppressive, right? He leaves the door, he goes and often risks his life doing jobs to earn money so that I can stay at home and actually have a home and food on the table and so I can raise my family, have children. Yes, it's difficult. Yes, you'll be sleep deprived. Yes, there are sacrifices involved. But you'll be ultimately doing something that your biology is innately designed to do, which will bring you ultimate satisfaction and meaning in your life and just trumps anything else that you'll get from a career. No, all of that is really, really oppressive. I'm going to go work for a boss, submit to him, a stranger who doesn't love me, meet his every need, rely on him for money. And if I don't go into work that day, I don't get any money. And if I ultimately want to do something that is deep down what I really want to do, which is have kids, he's going to encourage me to get an abortion. I'll lose my job. But no, the alternative to that is oppressive. Like nothing makes sense. And look at society. It's just worse off. The cost of living has gone through the roof now with 2 people having to work jobs instead of 1 per household. And now women have woken up to this, or at least many of them have, and want to just return to being a housewife as the ultimate goal. And I think just this speaks to a testament of how much the feminists have to answer for so many of today's modern problems. Let's go.
Now, the good news is that this kind of woke progressive objective, this idea of denigrating young men, of emasculating them, of not giving them a place in the future, fails. It loses. I was recently speaking at Cal Berkeley, which is not exactly known for its conservative thinking, and I told them that. I said, woke loses. It has to lose. And the reason why it has to lose is because if you look at the whole of human history, you will never find an example of people seizing the means of production or overthrowing their current government or systems where the vanguard of the revolution is comprised of people who predominantly identify with their mental illnesses or sexual proclivities.
So good. So good.
You're going to denigrate young men? Good luck conquering anything. Good luck taking over anything. Whether you like it or not, young men are predominantly the people that build the buildings, that fight the fires, that police the streets, and fight the wars.
Such a great point.
A friend of mine, Rudyard Lynch, likes to remind us, though, that woke losing doesn't mean we win.
There we go. He's going to touch on
it. Doesn't mean
that.
civilization wins. There's an old African proverb that says that if a young man does not find his place in the village, he will burn it down to feel the warmth.
Whoa.
And as young men are rejecting the woke progressive narrative of who they are and what they are, that doesn't mean they're adopting the positions in civilization that we would like them to. There's another enticement, and that enticement is various forms of barbarism, authoritarianism, totalitarianism. Because say what you like about those ideologies, they're not woke. The question is are we providing our young men with an alternative to that? Are we now defining ourselves exclusively by what our enemies are, or are we actually capable of putting forth a vision that they believe is worth fighting for? This has become all that more important to me, not simply because I believe in the West. It's come important to me because now my son wears the uniform of his country.
Wow. Wow.
And as he was enlisting during the previous administration, I remember my wife came to me at one point and asked me, should we let him? And I said, what do you mean let him? He gets to make up his own mind. He has to follow the path that God has laid out for him. And oh, by the way, part of the reason he chose this path is because we convinced him it was worth it. That's an enormous responsibility as a father that you don't really think about until after the fact.
Wow.
When I told the stories of being in uniform, being in combat, the camaraderie, the sense of appreciation and gratitude growing up in the country I did, what it represented for us, what it meant for us, how it was such an incredible departure from the rest of human history, and how it was worth defending. And then one day they wake up and they realize they believe you. They want it. They want a chance to be able to build onto that legacy, to be a part of it, to be worthy of it. Ladies and gentlemen, we're not going to convince the young men of the West to fight for a civilization that they feel is complicit in their own destruction. Because right now they look at the civilization that we talk of and they think to themselves, it's either complicit in emasculating me or it was powerless to stop it.
Wow. So good.
But when we
So
give them a
good.
different vision, when we understand that we cannot divorce what has made the West special at a theological level, I don't fight for Western civilization. I fight for Christendom.
Oh, dude, he said it. He said, I haven't seen this before, by the way. Whoa, uncomfortable faces in the crowd.
I want the West to once again recognize that there was a theological underpinning to everything that we believe. There's a reason why we have discussions about equity and equality and tolerance when most of the world and most of world history didn't even consider these things as worth discussing.
I can't even believe he said that.
But if we forget that foundational component of our civilization, then we will lose it. Because I can tell you this, I don't know many people that die for secular humanism.
He's true. He's right. He's right. I agree with him. Oh my
Out of the
goodness.
countless combat operations I went on, there was one in particular in 2008 in Iraq. And the reason why I remember it so vividly is because it was one of the few times I can remember thinking to myself, the next decision I'm about to make is going to get me killed. There was really no tactically sound way to go about doing what needed to be done at that particular moment. All I could remember is that it had to be done, and I was the person in the position to do it. Other missions, other operations, there had been other men in my unit, but this time it was me. And at that point, I wasn't thinking about the necessity for ensuring high GDP figures for my country. In fact, truth be told, I wasn't even thinking about the freedoms that my country has blessed me with. All that I could think about that in that moment is I was considering whether or not I would ever see my wife and 3 children again. Was I the man that they thought I was?
How
was
good
I the
is this
husband
speech?
that my wife believed me to be? Was I the father that my children looked up to? And see, in that moment, they would have afforded me a small measure of cowardice if it meant I could come back home. But a small moment of cowardice at that particular moment would have demonstrated that I was not the man they thought I was. If we truly want the boys of the West to become the sort of men upon which civilizations are built and defended and advanced, then we have to give them something more than economic outcomes.
Whew. I'm still shook from the Christendom statement. This is not a completely Christian audience. This is amazing.
I have convinced my son that the United States, that the West, that his family, that his faith, that his legacy is worth fighting for. Which means my obligation for the rest of my life is to prove him right. And I believe that we have a unique and special opportunity to do right now because young men are listening. They know that what they've been sold is wrong. One of the things I am so grateful for from Charlie Kirk is the fact that when he was murdered, there were so many young men that were showing up on social media saying, I'm going to church for the first time. I bought a Bible for the first time.
Yeah. Not everyone clapping.
But the question I will ask all of you is when those young men walk into those churches, what will they find?
Woke slop from the LGBT priests.
An excellent argument. It was meeting other men that I knew I could count on in a fight. And young men know that they're headed toward a fight. They are looking for other men to believe in. They are looking for faith. They are looking for family. And if we can provide that, if we can provide a structure where those things can thrive, then they will understand that they are not only building upon a legacy, but they have an opportunity to add something to it that is uniquely theirs. And if we want the West to survive, that's what it's going to take. So let's be the example that they can follow for that. Let's let the arguments that we make not just be in the speeches that we provide, but in the way that we live our lives so that there can be no denying that we have something there that is special and worth fighting for, so that one day I can stand before my God and hear, well done, good and faithful service, but I can also stand before the friends that I lost overseas and let them know that we still live in a country and a part of the world that was worthy of their sacrifice. Thank you.
Wow. Oh my goodness. What an incredible speech that was. Now, look, when I first started filming this video, I'd already watched the first couple of minutes, but I hadn't seen the entire thing. I know of Nick Freitas. I follow him on social media. We've had a little bit of an interaction in the DMs, but I had no idea where this was going, but knew it was going to be good. So for him to bring up that you can't live and die for the secular West, it doesn't really mean anything ultimately, especially since in its current form, it is betraying young men, it's betraying women, it's betraying everyone. And it's allowing in the barbarians in all of its forms. Really, what he is saying that he would live and die for is Christendom. Absolutely. Absolutely. What else do you have to live and die for other than this? Like, point it to me. Comfort? Access to Starbucks? Going to Costco? Like going on holidays? Like what is this thing that is ultimately at the top of things that you find to be the most valuable, the most important, that sets the conditions for you to have a home that's safe, that you can live in all godliness and dignity, for you to live your life and raise your family? What else? What else? It's Christ. Okay, and to bring that to other nations as well, Christendom, right? So that other nations can also not live as slaves to Islam or to jihad or to communism or to voodoo or to some barbaric paganism, whatever it might be. It's Christendom. And so for him to say that and then it to pan to the audience, amazing moment. And I completely agree with him. So what an incredible speech. Remember who you are, lads. And also, here's another important thing that we need to address. He said, look, if we're telling people to go to church, what are they going to find there? Because this is a controversial and difficult conversation to have. There are now 40,000 denominations of Christianity. They can't all be true. They might have fragments of the truth or more, some more than others. But ultimately, where are you going to find the fullness of that truth and experience? And where are you going to go where the pastor isn't some trans lesbian who's pushing climate change and dressing up as furries and doing disco parties in the middle of the service, right? All the rainbow flags, which unfortunately is becoming very, very popular, where these beautiful historic churches in Europe are being draped in trans inclusionary rainbow flags. Like, you can't send people there. These are not churches anymore. These are not. They have lost that title. They have left the communion of Christ by doing this. Essentially, that's what's happened. Right? It's scary to say this. It's controversial to say this. It's uncomfortable to say this. But one of the things I love about Orthodoxy, and I have love for my Roman Catholic friends and Protestants as well, but let's be real about some things. One of the things that I do love about the Orthodox Church is that you're not met with all this woke stuff, right? You don't enter the church and you have like sermons on the rainbow inclusionary, like climate change political fad of the day, where the entire teachings of the church change every 10 years to keep up with the latest fad, as we've seen from even the Church of England, right? And so the difference is that, again, within these more traditional churches, traditional teachings of Christianity, if you go back, they're really training you for martyrdom, to carry your cross and to trudge up that hill in suffering and pain and sacrifice when things get tough. It's training you. It's training you to live in a martyristic way and to die to the world, in a sense. And in doing so, you actually have something worthwhile and meaningful. And downstream from that suffering comes the beauty and the joy and the glory. And so this is where we need to be sending people, right? To places where they can experience this, they can experience and participate and join into this family and this way of life, because it's ultimately that which we can live and die for. It's that which affords us a society where we can live in all godliness and dignity and raise families and imbibe our children with proper meaning. And so anyway, just what an incredible speech. Please send this to as many people as you can who you want to snap out of the delusion which the modern woke culture is feeding boys, so that they can basically unwind the cultural conditioning over the last 30, 40, 50, 60 years in the West. Incredible speech by Nick Freitas. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, hype it, comment down below, subscribe if you haven't already. Check out the merch link to really support the show and wear these messages proud. And I'll speak to you in the next one. God bless.